I'm here with a 2015 Lexus ES 350 sedan. I want to do a quick review about the car today, some of the statistics about it, and what about the driving experience and just how well it drives. I'm going to start out inside the vehicle today because it's very windy outside. I just want to give you a quick tour around the vehicle. Please try to ignore the wind noise. It's a very windy day, but this is my last day with this vehicle. It's a very sleek sedan. I think it actually looks pretty good. It doesn't necessarily have the silhouette of a Camry. The styling's different enough that it doesn't look like the Camry's origins or the Avalon's platform at all. So let's step inside the vehicle, as it's already getting pretty windy out here. So let's start this up. Put your foot on the brake. Comes with a standard start-stop system. The steering wheel comes toward you. It's an optional feature. That's part of the memory setting. So let's turn down the fan speed here. This is your automatic climate control. And up here you have your Lexus N-Form system, which is an infotainment system that comes standard on this vehicle. Kind of the default screen is the navigation screen, which I believe is an 8-inch LCD screen. It is not a touch screen. It is all controlled with this mouse-like controller down here. So you just rest your hand here, arm rest right here, and you can kind of move around the tiles up here with this mouse-like controller. And the main menu looks a lot like this. So you can switch between your climate system, and at any time you can go back by going to this back arrow right here. You have your navigation, you have your Lexus app suite, so you can book movies, get tickets to different games. You have an online assistant that you can call up at any time if you have a good smartphone that will pair with the Lexus app, and that you can call the suite or attendant at any time, and they can give you directions to a different location, or just have like a personal concierge service. Phone system, you have your Bluetooth system that you can connect for music or for talking hands-free. Media, so you can select your different audio sources: radio, AM, FM, HD radio, your smartphone, pairing music, CD player, or Bluetooth streaming audio. And you have your radio right here. So that's where you just select your HD radio, your AM or FM system right there. I usually just keep it at nav, and that gives me kind of my default screen. And at any time you can always select home, and that'll bring you to a split screen with your audio system and your navigation like that. Or if you press the menu button, it'll kind of bring you back to the home screen, which looks like this. This car has an optional Mark Levinson audio system, which is an 800 plus watt surround sound audio system with automatic levelizing. This vehicle does not have that option. This has the standard 8-speaker sound system, but is also made by Harman Kardon. It's not labeled like that in the vehicle, but the Lexus dealership that I was talking to says that the both audio systems, the Mark Levinson and the base standard 8-speaker audio system, are both made by Harman Kardon. So this sound system, I don't believe, has a subwoofer. It doesn't sound like it, but the bass is still good. The sound quality is still excellent. If you upgrade to the Mark Levinson audio system, I believe it's a $2,000 option, but I've heard it's one of the best in the business. So these are some of your controls right here. You have like kind of go straight to your media sources right here, or your radio, and then you have your automatic climate control down here. I usually keep it about 70 degrees or so. This car also has the optional leather seats with heated and cooling feature, so you can kind of switch to a heated function or a cooling function. And when I have it on cooling, I can hear a little fan inside the seat that's actually kind of cooling my back and my butt. Down here you have your drive mode select. The car always starts in normal mode, but then you can select to eco just by pressing that, and a little symbol comes up in your dashboard like that. That basically dulls the throttle and the transmission response, and it will moderate the engine output, as well as the air conditioning level and the recirculation mode, in order to maximize the amount of cooling in the vehicle while still achieving the best fuel economy. It also lightens the steering considerably. Just press for the normal mode to go back to that default setting, and then I always keep it in sport mode. That just makes the engine and transmission a little bit more responsive, but it keeps it in the same gear. The transmission programming doesn't really change, so that way you're not revving high on the highway in sport mode. It's still in like a high gear, like 6th gear, but the steering gets heavier, so you can have heavy steering feel, quicker throttle response if you gotta floor it, but it still gets the same fuel economy as in normal mode in my experience. So building off some of the key aspects of the driving experience of this vehicle, I just want to explain that the car rides supremely comfortable. It just has a very smooth quality even at 70 miles per hour. The steering feel is pretty much non-existent, but when you dial in the sport mode it does get a little bit heavier, and it might provide a little bit more feedback as a result of it being heavier. It transmits a little more of the kickback around turns. However, it is still one of the quietest vehicles on the road, and the passing power is incredible. It has 268 horsepower and 248 foot-pounds of torque, but it feels more like a V8 with over 300 horsepower because the car gets to 60 in a little under 6.5 seconds in warm weather and perhaps about 6 seconds in colder weather. I also want to comment that the headlights on this car for the 2015 model are standard halogen bulbs. So as a result, they're not very good on the low beams. The fog lights are excellent, but the low beam headlights are lacking. The high beams, however, shine very far and are very intense. I'd overall recommend the xenon option for 2015 or step up to the LEDs that became standard or optional in 2016. In addition, this car in 2016 was upgraded in the Institute for Highway Safety Small Overlap Crash Test and it received a good rating. Prior model years did receive a poor rating, however there are no ratings for 2013 through 2015, so somewhere in that time range Lexus upgraded the front structure on the driver's side in order to account for that kind of crash test. Otherwise, this car scores excellent in every other crash test by the government and the Institute for Highway Safety. The tires on this car are P215/55R17 with V-rated Michelin Primacy MXV4 tires. So let's get back to the interior of this vehicle and I'll wrap up my review. Because of this mouse-like controller right here for the N-form system, you have your passenger cup holder right here that's covered, and then you also have your driver cup holder right here. I'll take this out momentarily and show you that it also is covered. I usually just keep it open. You also have a nice storage cubby down here for iPods or other media that you can put in right there, an aux port and two USB ports, as well as a 12-volt power outlet down there. This is about 8 inches deep or so it's a pretty big cubby. You can fit a person there for sure. The seats are very comfortable. I feel like the lumbar support could be a little bit better and a little bit higher up my back, but the seats are wide, supportive, very comfortable, a little bit like sitting on a sofa. Overall, the interior fit and finish is excellent in this car. These padded dashboard materials are very soft, but up here it's a little bit hard for my taste of a $45,000 vehicle. This car starts at $37,000, but this is a little over $40,000 with a few options. Memory seats right there, so you have 3 different memory positions that you can set, and that will set your mirrors, steering wheel, your seat position, and just overall vehicle settings, but not your lumbar support. That will be wherever it was before the driver that was sitting before you. That's where the lumbar position will be when you get in the car. Down here you have your mirror controls, you have your blind spot monitoring system, which is optional in this car, as well as your parking sensors for the rear parking sensors. You have your gas release down there and your trunk release, and you also have your hood release right here. And you have your push parking brake right here. You can see that down there. These are all padded materials right here and on the door. This isn't very soft. I think it could be a little bit softer for this class of vehicle, but you have real chrome door handles here. I'm actually not sure if they're chrome. They don't necessarily feel as expensive as they should be, to be honest. One of the things is this pedestal mounted side mirror creates a little bit of a blind spot when you're pulling into parking spaces and going around tight turns, so that's one criticism I have of this vehicle. What's kind of cool about this car is that the power windows, if you pull up, they're automatic for rear and front, so you just pull all the way up on the switch and it'll go up automatically without, it's like a one-touch feature. But it slows down as it approaches the top of the header right here, so that you can get a better seal when the car is driving along, so that way you'll have less wind noise. This car is incredibly quiet on the road. I can't say enough about how comfortable it is. It has one of the best rides I've ever experienced. I think the only car that has a smoother ride than this is a 2015 Mercedes-Benz E350 that I rode in. But up till about 70 miles an hour, both vehicles are about the same for smoothness and quietness. Only above 70 are you going to really notice that the Mercedes is smoother. So if you don't typically go over those speeds, I think the Lexus is probably the better bet for quietness and smoothness for the price. You have your automatic headlights right here, and you can have your DRLs, which are your LED daytime running lights. You can turn those off if you like, but I always keep it on auto, so that keeps the daytime running lights on, and those are your LED lights in the front of the vehicle. It's a very roomy driving position. You have plenty of knee room, you have plenty of room to stretch out. You have a little bit of a high dashboard, but you can raise the seat if you like. You have visibility overall is very good, but out the back window it's a little bit small for my taste. But you do have a standard backup camera, so that helps considerably. It has a very clear display, so I'll put it in reverse so you can see that. It's a very clear display. You can see even the grains in the road, and you have your backup sensors as an option as well. You have lighted vanity mirrors right here, the lights up here. You have your one-touch power sunroof. That comes standard, but you have a dual pane standard moonroof that comes optional in the vehicle. You also have grab handles that are damped all the way around the car. So let's climb into the back seat here. It's a little windy out. The car beeps to let you know that you stepped out of the vehicle with the stop-start key. Doors don't sound necessarily the most solid in the business. If you shut them softly, they sound very solid, but if you slam them, they have a little bit of a rattle after you shut the door. Door handles are basically identical to the front doors. Materials are basically identical to the front doors with soft touch materials all over with chrome look plastic right here. And I don't think this is real wood in the back, but I believe it's real wood in the front. You have so much legroom back here, and I was sitting really far back in the driver position, so having this much room back here is just insane. You can basically cross your legs back here, even with a 6-foot driver up front, even 6'2", I bet, driver up front. You could have a 6-foot passenger back here cross his legs, his or her legs, without a problem. You have your rear seat vents right here for cooling. 12-volt power outlet. It's actually 120 watt. 120 watt 12-volt power outlet. You have your storage pockets back here for both sides of the vehicle. Auto up and down windows for basically all positions. It doesn't go all the way down though, however. And then it will slow as it gets up toward the header, just as the front doors do. And I'm not sure why that's like that. But you do have your center console right here, your center armrest with cup holders. So that's very nice. And you have a center pass-through, so you can load skis or other long items in the vehicle. I don't believe this car has fold-down rear seats, but you do have vanity lights for both sides of the vehicle in the back and in the front. So let's take a look at the trunk. And you have your trunk release button right here. Very high, wide opening. So you got plenty of room back here. The seats do not fold down in this vehicle. Then you also have the gooseneck hinges that can impede on your luggage. It's not the deepest trunk, but it's a very long trunk, so you have plenty of room back there. You also have a grab handle right here that you can use to shut the trunk. Alright, so overall I think this is a very excellent vehicle. It has plenty of power. It'll do 60 miles an hour in about 6.5 seconds, maybe even as low as 6 seconds when it's cold outside. It definitely feels quicker than my Acura TL. And overall, like, the styling looks great. You have the standard LED daytime running lights up front that really make it a sharp vehicle on the road. And this red color, I'm kind of a big fan. I think this is a very comfortable car for the class, and if you're not looking for a sporty driving experience, but something supremely quiet, and basically as quiet as a vehicle costing twice as much, I definitely recommend this vehicle. If you have any questions about this vehicle, please put them in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed this review. Have a great day. Bye.